everything you've always wanted to know about real estate but didn't know who to ask. I'm your host, Angie Stanley. This week our guests are Kenny Simpson. He is a real estate lender with residential wholesale mortgage. We also have Crystal Moore. She is a commercial mortgage broker with residential wholesale mortgage. We also have Mike Litton. He is a realtor and broker for Keller Williams Escondido. Our first guest, Kenny Simpson, is a lender. Hey Kenny, how are you today?
Good, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing good, thanks for coming out. So tell me, Kenny, where do you see the lending industry today compared to last year?
I see the lending industry changing a lot, especially with loan-to-value guidelines, more opportunity out there for first-time home buyers to get in with less money down, more options than FHA and VA. So I see lenders stepping up and loan-to-values going up, so that's really going to help the purchase market out over the next year and moving forward.
Nice. So give me an idea. What were the loan-to-values last year compared to this year?
I don't think it's necessarily that much of that was different, but I think there's more options now out there. There's more lenders doing more loan-to-values, so it's out there more in the general public. Okay. But I would say that FHA, because the expenses are going up and a lot of people are trying not to do those loans all the time, that with conventional, you can do 3% down, for example, with conventional, but you can do 5% down with conventional with no mortgage insurance. So these options are coming out, and I think the market's really seeing that they need to step up and kind of have products for this type of client and these first-time home buyers.
Okay, well that's great news then. Yes, for buyers. And does that affect sellers at all, or?
No, I think it's great for everybody all around. I think it's really going to help the market out, and they need it too. It's something they need. So FHA doesn't want to do every mortgage, and there's more opportunity out there than just FHA now.
Nice. And then what about the rising home pricing? Does that affect the LTV?
No, I think it's just better for the seller. I think the rising home pricing is actually helping people that might have not been able to refinance a home that's in a higher interest rate. They have more value to their house, so sometimes people are paying down a little bit to get to 95% LTV where they can refi, or they have the right LTV now where they can refi. If they're not on a government loan, they can't do a HARP 2.0 or something like that. So it really does help that values are going up, because it's also helping the appetite for more real estate investors and companies like that to get out there and provide more financing, and it's going to help the growth of the economy and overall the growth of real estate too.
Well, that sounds like great news.
Yeah.
Now tell me, what is your opinion? Is today a good time to buy? Do you think it's going to get better? Do you think it's going to get worse?
I think today's a great time to buy. I think you have historically low interest rates, number one. You've got obviously still housing is still relatively reasonable to where we were at years ago. So I think it's a great time to buy. I think it's a tough time to buy too, because everybody wants to buy, and demand's high and inventory's low. So you have to really be prepared and ready. But I think I think that's why everybody's so excited. It's a great time to buy, a great time to get in.
Okay. Now I know the lending aspect of the transaction can be, sometimes the most difficult portion of it. Now when you say it's a hard time to maybe buy because the market is so low, what do you suggest to the people? Should you get your pre-approval letter, right before you buy? Should you get it well in advance?
I think you should get your pre-qual up front, but I think with the pre-qual you need to make sure when you meet with a lender that they're really going through all your paperwork and getting everything. Because you want to make sure when you move forward and you proceed with that purchase that you can actually, they've looked at all your paperwork, all your documentation, and you can close on the loan. Especially if you're doing a short-tail transaction, you do have some time. So I think it's very important to make sure you have everything dialed up front before you move forward and even start looking out there for a home. Yeah,
because it seems like, these pre-qual letters are so easy to get, and then the realtors are accepting the deals or for their clients, but then they get an escrow and it falls out because they actually aren't an approved buyer. Is there something that maybe a tip or some advice that you could give to maybe help to reduce that happening?
Absolutely. I think people, when they do go get pre-qualified, they need to make sure they are sending tax returns and W-2s and pay stubs and where the money is going to come from to the down payment, and also they're having their credit pulled, and then they're getting their file run through a D or LP, which is how they underwrite and how we upload a file to get back an answer approval or not. Okay. Because most people that are buying homes, the realtors, or if it's a short-tail company, they're getting smarter and they have somebody that does a pre-qual on top of their pre-qual to make sure that this stuff has been double checked.
Okay.
So when that person does go into escrow, they're not wasting anybody's time. And then this, obviously, if you don't close on a house, could go into foreclosure or something if they don't have the proper time to close. So I think it's very important, and you want to make sure that the person that's checking your pre-qual stuff has gone through all your stuff, and that there's no hidden, anything hidden in there that can come back to bite you in the end.
And then make sure to keep all of that current and not let anything go on your credit during that time period. That seems to happen sometimes too. Okay. Now tell me real quick, Kenny, what got you into being a lender?
Yeah, actually I always wanted to get into real estate. I loved it, and I still love it. And I think I just had an opportunity about 10 years ago to join a team, and I jumped in and I just ended up loving it. Obviously the market has changed a lot from the 10 years ago to now, but I'm glad I'm here, and I think the industry as a whole has really turned around, and I like where it's going, and with the regulations, and I feel like there's a lot more respect coming back into as being a loan officer, because we have to really take pride in what we do, and we're really regulated, on everything we do. So that's good for a consumer, and it's good for everybody, and it's good for moving forward with the housing and economy as well.
Absolutely. So tell me, if you could give one tip of advice to someone that's looking to, give me a tip of advice for a buyer and a seller regarding lending.
Yeah, if you're going to be buying, like we talked about, the most important thing is make sure that somebody really did go through all your stuff. You're with a lender, or you're with a loan officer that has experience, that went through all your stuff, to make sure if there's any questions you get them answered up front, not when you're halfway through a transaction, because it can end up ending the bad way. And then for a seller, I think it's important too that whoever's buying their house, that they can qualify for their house, and and make sure they're comfortable too.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, Kenny. And coming up, we have Crystal. She is a commercial real estate broker, and she's going to tell us everything there is to know about the commercial real estate market these days.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kenny.
Okay, look forward to seeing you next time.